Lena, a young woman with long dark hair tied in a messy bun, walked along a narrow path, clutching a small backpack. She loved these walks. The forest was her sanctuary, a place where she could escape the hustle of the city, the endless calls and deadlines. Here, among the trees, she felt alive, but this evening felt different. Lena stopped, listening intently. Through the usual forest sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of a bird, a strange noise broke through. It was faint, almost imperceptible, yet all the more unsettling. It sounded like someone crying. Lena froze, her heart beating faster. She wasn't easily frightened, but this sound, so human yet so alien, sent chills down her spine. She took a step toward the sound, then another. The path lay behind her and the forest grew denser. Branches snagged at her jacket as if trying to hold her back. Lena pulled out her phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam of light cut through the darkness, illuminating moss-covered tree trunks and damp earth. The sound grew louder. It was no longer crying, but a soft, pain-filled moan. She stopped in a small clearing surrounded by tall pines. Her flashlight caught something large lying on the ground. Lena gasped, her hand trembling, making the beam of light dance. Before her was a leopard. Its golden fur, speckled with dark spots, gleamed in the flashlight's glow, but the animal's beauty was overshadowed by its condition. Its right front paw was twisted unnaturally, and a dark pool of blood spread across the ground. It was wounded, gravely so. Lena stood still. Her mind screamed, "Run! It's a predator! It's dangerous!" But the leopard didn't growl. It didn't try to stand or lunge at her. It just looked at her. Its golden green eyes, like two precious gems, were filled with pain but held no threat. It gazed at her as if pleading. Lena felt her throat tighten with a strange mix of fear and pity. She took a step forward. The leopard didn't move. Only its chest rose and fell heavily, and a soft moan escaped its throat. Lena knelt down, moving slowly so as not to startle the animal. She noticed that its wound, a deep gash on its paw, was still bleeding. Perhaps it had been caught in a trap or struck something sharp. Lena didn't know how it happened, but she understood. Without help, it wouldn't survive. She slipped off her backpack and pulled out a water bottle. Her movements were cautious, almost ceremonial. Lena knew wild animals feared sudden gestures, but this leopard seemed too weak to react. She unscrewed the cap and slowly slid the bottle toward the animal, leaving it a few centimeters from its muzzle. The leopard sniffed, its whiskers twitching. It looked at Lena, and something flickered in its gaze, something she couldn't quite explain. Trust? Gratitude? She didn't know. But it didn't turn away or hiss. It was too weak and too trusting. Lena took out her phone and dialed the animal rescue service. She spoke softly, trying not to scare the leopard, explaining where she was and what she had found. They told her help was on the way, but it would take about an hour. Lena nodded, though no one could see her, and put the phone away. She stayed seated on the ground, a few meters from the leopard, watching it. Time crawled by. The forest around her felt like a living, breathing entity, observing them both. The leopard occasionally tried to move, but each time its paw gave way and it collapsed back to the ground. Lena felt her heart ache. She wanted to get closer but was afraid, not of the leopard, but of herself. What if she did something wrong? What if it decided she was a threat after all? But its eyes, they held her, wouldn't let her go. Lena began to speak softly, not knowing why. Maybe to calm it, maybe to calm herself. "It's going to be okay," she whispered. "They're coming. They'll help you." The leopard looked at her, and in its gaze there seemed to be a hint of understanding. Lena didn't know how much time passed. 10 minutes, 20, half an hour. She sat, not looking away, until the sound of an engine hummed in the distance. The rescuers had arrived. When people in uniform stepped into the clearing, Lena stood and stepped back. She feared the leopard would panic, but it remained still. Only its eyes followed every movement. The rescuers worked quickly and professionally. They surrounded the animal, and one of them pulled out a syringe with a tranquilizer, but another stopped him. "It's too weak," said a man with a short beard. "No need. It's not resisting." Lena watched as they carefully placed the leopard on a stretcher. It didn't growl or struggle. It only let out a soft moan when its paw accidentally brushed the edge of the stretcher. Lena felt tears sting her eyes. She didn't know why it affected her so deeply. Maybe because it was so vulnerable. Maybe because it had trusted her, a stranger, in its moment of desperation. The rescuers carried the leopard to their vehicle. One of them, a woman with short red hair, approached Lena. "You did great," she said. "If it weren't for you, it wouldn't have survived. We're taking it to the reserve. They'll take care of it there." Lena only nodded. She didn't feel like talking. She watched the vehicle disappear behind the trees, feeling an odd emptiness. The forest grew quiet again, but now the silence felt different, not soothing but heavy. Months passed. Lena couldn't forget that night. She often thought of the leopard, its eyes, the way it looked at her. One day she gathered her courage and drove to the reserve where they had taken it. They allowed her into the area where animals were being prepared for release into the wild. A worker, a tall man with a kind smile, greeted her. "Is that the same leopard?" Lena asked, looking at the animal lying on the grass under a tree. Its paw had healed, though a scar was still visible. It looked healthy, strong, but in its eyes there was still something from that night, a depth Lena couldn't forget. "Yes, that's him," the man replied. "We call him Argo. He's special. You know, he still reacts to water. As soon as someone comes with a bottle or a bucket, he runs over, like he's waiting for someone." Lena felt her heart tighten again. She looked at Argo, and it seemed to her that he was looking back. Not the same way as in the forest, but still, as if he recognized her. "He's looking for you," the worker said, his voice warm, almost magical. "You saved his life. Animals don't forget things like that." Lena didn't know if it was true. Maybe Argo was just reacting to water as something familiar. Maybe he wasn't looking for her. But she wanted to believe that in his memory that moment lingered, the moment when she, a stranger, became something more than just a human to him. She wanted to believe that a drop of the trust he had given her that night remained in his heart. She left the reserve but promised to return. And every time Lena picked up a water bottle, she remembered his eyes, and the forest, and that strange sound that led her to him.